Good morning, folks. How are you doing? It is about 8:15 on the 22nd day of December 2024. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I just told you that. On a Sunday. Um, it's nice. It's nice outside. It's cold, very cold. I think 42 degrees, 43 degrees. I'm going to do a quick video. We have another story out. They're busily cobbling these things together. This one, again, about Assad and Assad leaving, quote unquote, of his own volition, which did not happen. The story is absolute bullshit. It's as dumb as the story that Bashar al Assad wrote his little quote unquote manifesto, why I left, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya manifesto, and then had to publish it on Twitter, on Telecom, which, by the way, the CIA and NED and State Department use for their mercenaries, contractors, when they regime change a country. Why Bashar al-Assad would do that, there's no explanation. They claim that, Bashar al-Assad said that no legitimate news agency would take this, which is 100% bullshit. The only reason a news agency wouldn't take it is if they couldn't confirm it actually came from Bashar al-Assad. I told you about how stupid that was. I told you about how stupid it was to blame Erdogan for what the Telegraph article showed yesterday, and what their research and investigation showed yesterday is that Turkey had nothing to do with these terrorists that we trained, hired, paid, armed, and equipped with heavy weapons for 3 months before they kicked off their thing 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, 5 weeks ago. And today I'm going to tell you, again, without a shadow of a doubt, the New York Times is trying to say that they have sources, and I'll talk about their sources. They have sources from inside Syria and out. They claim that Bashar al-Assad had told his aides and all of his people that he had decided they were going to have a power-sharing agreement with the legitimate opposition inside Syria, meaning the political opposition, the opposition that actually holds elections, not the opposition that are bought and paid for by the United States, France, and Britain, and Israel, armed by these people who run around killing people, killing civilians, and causing terror. Those are terrorists. He wasn't talking about those. And he was setting up last week, 2 weeks ago now, to have a discussion or to make an announcement to the people of Syria. They had written out his statement. He was ready to give it. He was getting ready. He was either minutes or an hour away from delivering this address to the Syrian people, historic address, by the way, that he was ready to agree to enter into a power-sharing agreement with the legitimate opposition, when, according to the New York Times' new fucking article, based on sources, unnamed sources, he all of a sudden just disappeared, went to a military base, a Russian military base, and then was flown out of the country. For no apparent reason. They actually had the film crew there setting up to live broadcast his address. That's bullshit. That did not happen. In all likelihood, 3-4 months ago, 3 months prior to them starting this thing, we had decided that we were going to probably, in an effort to garner Israel and the Zionists' fucking support in this election, the Biden administration decided that they were going to allow for the full-on regime change in Syria. So they started training their terrorists and making inroads with politicians and more importantly, probably with generals in the Syrian army. So we unleashed that, having, of course, the mainstream media and mainstream media light being the alternative media, especially on the left, blaming Erdogan and Turkey for what we were doing with Britain and with Israel. The article from the Telegraph, I'll show you down below in a second, makes all that perfectly clear. So, a week before he goes away, on December the 8th, Assad, there were reports by Erdogan saying, you know, I put this coalition together of, I think it was Qatar and Egypt, maybe Russia, and of course him from Turkey. And we contacted Bashar al Assad and said, hey, we need to have a conversation about what's going to happen in Syria with this new front coming in, moving in for you. And he was told by Assad, go screw yourself. Apparently, what actually happened, now that might be a lie. However, it might also be very true. What apparently happened was, sensing what was going on, Bashar al-Assad decided, and his advisors decided, they could trump this rebel resurgence of the terrorists, our paid-for terrorists, the proxy army run by the United States and Britain and Israel. They could trump that if they went ahead and had a historic meeting with the legitimate elected opposition in Syria and entered into a new power-sharing agreement that would appease the people in Syria who don't want to see a regime change, but they want something different. And that would go a long way with the international community, showing that he was willing to work with the opposition and come to some kind of negotiated agreement. So they were going to make that announcement that day, perhaps even within an hour of when he just, quote unquote, disappeared and decided to leave for no reason. That being the case, once word of that got, probably through the prime minister or through the generals, once word of that got around to the states and to glorious Israel, they understood immediately what that meant. If Bashar al-Assad remained in a power-sharing agreement with legitimate members of elected political parties inside of Syria, in a power-sharing agreement, that would mean that Syria would remain Syria and Israel couldn't fucking steal it. And so, of course, something had to be done. And that something was, in my opinion, based on the behavior of the prime minister, minutes after he was gone, Assad was gone, saying, we welcome our new glorious rulers, Al-Qaeda, and of course, the generals, who are on record of having told the fucking military to stand down. Someone within his close allies betrayed Bashar al-Assad, and we know betrayed him, possibly even his wife, and certainly his brother, Bashar al Assad, because he's also missing in action. Oh, he's just disappeared. They've all just disappeared. Everybody named Assad, who was in Syria that day, just disappeared and decided never to talk to the fucking press again. You believe that? Or is it most likely that, knowing what we wanted to give to glorious Israel for the greater Israel project, again, look up Jeffrey Sachs' interview with Tucker Carlson. It'll explain it. If you don't believe me and what I've said for years, maybe you'll believe what Jeffrey Sachs said 5 days ago. Maybe. But what makes more sense? He gets all this stuff done. He goes through the process of writing the fucking statement. He gets dressed up. He's all set and ready to go. They got the camera. They literally have the camera people there. And all of a sudden, poof, he decides he's going to leave. Or all of a sudden, poof, we get him the fuck out of there before he can make that statement. Because once he's made that statement, it's over. All legitimacy for our regime change is over. It was a counter move by Bashar al Assad. Understanding, probably clued in a little bit by Erdogan, who Erdogan says he told him, this is going to get real bad for you real soon. You need to come talk to us and work out a situation for the future of Syria. He said, thanks, but no thanks. Apparently intending to do it himself, not with the terrorists, with HTS, who, by the way, are steadily putting fucking terrorists in as foreign minister and defense secretary. Terrorists. We have a country now run by our terrorists who were formerly Al-Qaeda, by the way. And in case you forgot, I'll tell you again, 9/11. And in case you forgot, I'll tell you again. Supposedly it was Al-Qaeda setting fucking IEDs on the sides of roads when our soldiers went driving by in Humvees and got parts of their fucking bodies blown to fucking bits by Al-Qaeda. Now we have, the Biden administration has sent in, I guess with Trump's approval, because Trump is now apparently in charge. We have a group of emissaries going over to Syria to literally talk to and congratulate Al-Qaeda. This is the bullshit story out of fucking the New York Times. And it is as dumb as Assad going and releasing his mini manifesto. Having a great time, wish you were here manifesto on Telegram because no news agency would take it, which is stupid. This is fucking stupid. But again, this is the New York Times. Excuse me. I know I set a goddamn cough button on this. Here's the deal. Assad was about to announce a power-sharing deal with political opposition, not the terrorists, so we whacked him. Bashar al-Assad was setting up a historic press statement to tell the people of Syria he was going to share power with the political opposition in Syria. So, as the cameras were being set up, the official story is, he ran away, leaving his staffers and family members without saying a word. Now look at the cast of characters this bullshit story comes from. His sellout prime minister, Al-Qaeda, the MEK, and Kurds from Iraq, and of course, our man in Turkey, a guy by the name of Hakan Fidan. And the New York Times publishes this bullshit without one single critical thought as to the sheer stupidity of it all. The New York Times, quote, as rebels advanced toward the Syrian capital of Damascus on December the 7th, the staff of the Hilltop Presidential Palace prepared for a speech they hoped would lead to a peaceful end to the 13-year civil war. Aides to Bashar al-Assad were brainstorming messaging ideas. A film crew had set up cameras and lights nearby. Syria's state-run television station was ready to broadcast the finished product, an address by Mr. al-Assad announcing a plan to share power with members of political opposition, according to 3 people who were involved in the preparation. working from the palace, Mr. Assad, who had wielded fear and force to maintain his authoritarian rule over Syria for more than 2 decades, had betrayed no sense of alarm to his staff, according to the palace insider whose office was near the president's. That would be the prime minister's, our prime minister. He's probably the guy who sold him out. The capital's defenses had been bolstered, and Mr. Assad's aides were told, including by the powerful 4th Armored Division of the Syrian army, led by the the defenses had been bolstered by the 4th Division of the Syrian army, led by the president's brother, Bashar al Assad. But they had all been deceived. After dusk, the president slipped out of the capital, flying covertly to a Russian military base in northern Syria, and then on to a Russian jet to Moscow, according to 6 Middle Eastern government and security officials. Oh, anonymous 6. And who were they? The account of Mr. Assad's fall, much of which has not been previously reported or verified in any way, is based on interviews with Syrian, Iranian, Iraqi, Turkish officials, Damascus diplomats, as well as Mr. Assad and rebels, as well as associates of Mr. Assad and rebels who participated in his ouster. Many of them spoke on condition of anonymity. Now, who do they work out to be? The Syrian, of course, would be pro-U.S. opposition and his prime minister. The Iranian, of course, would be MEK. The Iraqi, of course, would be Iraqi Kurdistan. The Turkish official, of course, would be U.S. asset Hakan Fidan. And Damascus-based diplomats, as well as associates of Mr. Assad and rebels who participated in his ouster, they, of course, would be Al-Qaeda. Assad was doing what he had been told to do by advisors from places like Turkey and Egypt. He was making a deal to share power with the legitimate opposition in Turkey, but that wasn't enough. As Jeffrey Sachs recently put it, Israel had other plans for that land. They wanted it for Greater Israel, and a power-sharing deal would not permit that. So we whacked him and concocted this bullshit story about him setting up all this and then just taking a powder. As I've said before, if he were alive, he would have done some kind of interview by now, and damn sure wouldn't have come out with a stupid telegram message from him, because they would have known he would come out and discredit him. They wouldn't have come out. If he was alive, the people who created the bullshit telegram message would know not to do that, because he would just come out and discredit it. Okay? Again, what you have here is a little truth bleeding out of their lies. Assad was setting up to share power and put an end to the justification for the rebellion, because he knew what it was about. And we in glorious Israel couldn't have that, so we killed him, perhaps hours or minutes before his scheduled address to the nation, telling them of his plans to remain. They had to act fast, and now they're trying to cover their tracks. As part of what gives them away are their sources for this story, all of whom stand to gain from Assad being removed and Syria being handed over to Israel. The MEK, the Iranian source. They want an Iranian ally gone because it weakens them and readies them for their own regime change. It weakens them being the legitimate Iranian government. The Iraqi quote-unquote officials undoubtedly are from Iraqi Kurdistan, who are also working toward the Greater Kurdistan Project and are aligned with Israel. Syrian officials, like their prime minister, who seemed ready to hand over the keys to the kingdom to al-Qaeda terrorists before Assad was even out the door. And of course, the Turkish official is our asset, Hakan Fidan, who is a well-known asset of U.S. intelligence and the CIA, who thinks doing this one more service to for the Americans will buy him Erdogan's job after we regime change Turkey. It's bullshit. Bashar al Assad and his brother is dead, as is his brother. We killed them so Israel could steal more land from its neighbors. That's a fact. These are the birth pangs of the new Middle East. Don't be fooled and stop lying about it. Okay? If you want to, you can click on the Assad. I'll give you a link to the Assad thing here, title, category title here, and we can read this one, and you can read this one. You can go and there's a link to the New York Times article right here, full thing. It mentions the fact that his brother is also missing in action after reportedly fleeing the country the same time, and you can go here and look at this. Report coming out of the Telegraph. I copied the whole thing, so in case they change it or delete it, it's going to be here. But the whole thing it was done by us, by the British. And they don't mention the Israelis, but I'm sure the Israelis had a hand in it. But that's why. This was months prior to when they kicked off this new campaign, this new birth pangs of the Middle East campaign. But that's us. We did that. And of course, once we started that, and Bashar al Assad goes, checkmate, gotcha. I'm going to go ahead and agree to share power and make an announcement and make a statement live to the people of Syria and the rest of the world. And that'll put an end to your fucking justification for these terrorists to be put in charge in Syria. I'm going to do that. We said, no, you're not. We'll just fucking use our assets in your military, or even the prime minister, and kill you and your brother, and maybe even your wife, before you can make that statement. That is exactly what fucking happened. CIA uses Telegram for regime change operations. And, of course, here's the Telegram statement, the only thing anybody has heard supposedly from Bashar al-Assad since December the 8th. There's no reason in the world if he was in Russia. And of course, the Russians, we were told at the start, the Russians have said, yes, he's here. The Russians have not said he's here. I even heard some jackass ask, was it Biden or, no, it's Trump. It's Trump. Some jackass reporter, propagandist, asked Trump, "Are you gonna put pressure on Putin to hand over Assad?" She probably got a good pat on the back and a nice fucking 3 fingers of 50-year-old scotch for that one. Here's some news. Yes, indeed, the terrorist, formerly known as Al-Qaeda from 2002 until 2003, who now runs the country in Syria, he is appointing other fucking former Al-Qaeda terrorists and head choppers and black flag worshippers and contractors, special operations contractors for the United States. He's appointing them as foreign minister and secretary of defense or defense minister. It's just going to be a whole fucking, it'll be a country of, they're going to have theirs. We are sitting back watching them. We are literally, because, what do they say about, Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra? They want an Islamist state. Supposedly that's why they hate Assad, because he's Ba'athist, and that's too secular. Fuck you. They want an Islamist state. They went after, as ISIS, they went after fucking the Taliban in Afghanistan because they weren't Islamist enough, even though they were an Islam. Bullshit. They're our contractors. They're all our contractors. Do you understand? All of them. Every one of them. And for their fake deaths, murders that they commit, they're produced by us, just like CNN produces their fucking bullshit news. For the real deaths they commit, that's also produced by us. Usually civilians, women, children, elderly. Supposedly they want an Islamist state. So now we are in the business. Our military, after 9/11, for God's sake, our military is in the business of helping Islamists set up fucking Islamist states, wipe out secular nations, like Syria was, and replace it with an Islamist state. And people are talking about this like this is legitimate. Are you out of your fucking minds? Am I the only one who remembers 9/11? I know what 9/11 was. I'm an old school truther. But that doesn't matter. They're the ones who were blamed for it. They're the ones who fucking Normie Joe, blames for fucking 9/11. Am I the only one who forgets that? Some of them were fucking attacking American soldiers in Iraq. Some of them were. So if you want background on the people, his appointees, here's some of it. The terrorist went by Zayed al-Attar for a while when he was running a terror campaign. He's going to be their foreign minister. He's going to be their foreign minister, the guy who sits across the table and talks to him. And they carry this flag around. People are like, oh, this is the flag of the revolution. No, it isn't. Bullshit it is. That's the flag, this flag here, the flag of Syria now. This flag here was the flag of the French occupation of Syria. The flag then changed to this. This is the flag of the independent Syria. This is the flag of Syria under Bashar al Assad. This flag. This is the flag of the occupation of the French. And of course, that is the flag that these terrorists proudly fucking display. Going back, hearkening back to a time of French occupation. And neoliberal rule, of course. It's just amazing. Here's another thing on the terrorists being put in charge by this guy who's got a $10 million fucking bounty on his head still by the United States. And we're sending envoys over to talk to him. That's how fucking disgusting this is. So as disgusting as this is, as disgusting as even the flag situation is, as disgusting as putting fucking terrorists in charge of shit is, and ludicrous, just absolutely ludicrous. Am I the only one who remembers 9/11? These are the same fucking people. Am I the only one who remembers what Al-Qaeda was supposedly doing to our soldiers with IEDs in fucking Iraq? All of that ludicrousness, and I ask you, do you think I'm out of my mind when I tell you that, in fact, no, this is a bullshit story concocted from statements from fucking our assets who all have a stake in regime changing Syria. Do you think I'm outrageous when I say this guy didn't just walk away after all of this thought and all of this effort and writing the statement and putting it all together? He didn't just, and getting dressed, he didn't just walk away. He's not just deciding not to say anything because he's pouting. He didn't fucking send something to Telegram because nobody else would publish statement from the guy who everybody right now is dying to get an interview from. Because it would mean billions of clicks worldwide to their website. How fucking stupid do you have to be not to understand this man's either dead or they black-bagged him? And they had to do so because his statement, his plan, would have put an end to them, Israel, grabbing that chunk of greater Israel. That's just a fucking fact. And so now it's turning into the birth pangs of the new Middle East is literally birthing a fucking Islamist state right before your eyes. A real terrorist Islamist state. People say, oh, under, Morsi and fucking Egypt, that was an Islamist state. No, it wasn't. Anything Ba'athist is Islam. No, it isn't. Ba'athist is secular. Assad was, the government was secular. This is, you're replacing a secular democracy in Syria with legitimately a government run by Al Qaeda, an Islamist state run by Al Qaeda. And if you really understand, if you know what fucking ISIS is, you might as well just say it's ISIS too. I mean, it's just fucking wild what they think they can get away with. But Bashar al Assad and his people, they pressed him. They agreed. Okay, fine, we'll share power. I'll share power with the legitimate opposition in Syria, the elected opposition in our parliament system. I'll share power. It'll be historic. It'll be a big thing. It'll be an entire page on Wikipedia. Fuck you. And so, in all likelihood, his prime minister and his generals, prime minister, the one who welcomed hail ants, Al Qaeda terrorists, in the front door, literally giving them keys to the kingdom before Assad was even gone. Before Assad even left the building, this guy was ready to hand it over. I covered that. I covered his statement. And of course, the generals, the same fucking generals who passed word down, Assad is gone, stand down, walk away from your fucking... Who cares if Assad's gone? These guys are terrorists. This is Syria. No, fuck it. Just give up, walk away. So who do you think betrayed Bashar al Assad? You watch. You keep an eye on his generals who were in command of his military, Bashar al Assad's military. See where they go. See what kind of board jobs they get. See what kind of free condos they get in fucking Miami. You watch. You watch. Those fucking treasonous traitors are probably out of the country by now. In all likelihood, knowing what was happening, once they figured it out, they couldn't fucking put a stop to it, they said, do it. And those generals had some fucking head-cutting terrorists from HTS, Al Qaeda, Al Nusra, ISIS, dressed up in spare fucking military uniforms, put on Assad's detail. And when Assad turned his back to put his fucking tie on, they shot him in the head. It's just that simple, folks. I told you before. That's why the FBI had to go down to Haiti to grab the security camera footage, the computer, all the security camera footage was on. It wasn't the guy from fucking Miami and his dudes who we told to go down there, put them in the right place so they could be patsied. We bought off his own fucking security system, his own security people. The president of Haiti's security people killed him. No doubt. No doubt. Who killed JFK? The lone gunman? Who walked Ronald Reagan all the way down the block instead of having the limo right there? Instead of having the presidential vehicle right there. Walked him all the way down the block, right into where fucking Hinckley was waiting. His security people. And, by the way, who lit this jackass up on a roof and then get off 6 shots before pulling the trigger and blowing his head off? Trump's security people. That's who took out fucking Bashar al Assad. Now, either he's black bagged and being tortured in Gitmo until he can fucking get his mind right and read the fucking cue cards the way they want him to, or he and his brother and his wife are all dead. And this New York Times thing, this bullshit, stupid story from the New York Times proves it. It provides motive into why they had to act so recklessly when it came to Assad. I mean, oh my God, they're on the way to Damascus, so Assad just leaves and the military just give up. Assad didn't leave, and the military didn't give up. Military generals are the ones who killed him, and they're the ones who told the people to leave their posts and drop their guns. It's the generals who did it. We know that much, and in all likelihood with the assistance of the Prime Minister. Okay? Thank you for your time. Have a good Sunday. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.